Bernie Sanders spoke to the Washington Post, and he made some questionable comments. So look at this. Single payer isn't a litmus test for Dems. That's what Bernie argued. Now, to be fair to Bernie, he goes on to say, listen, it's one of many issues, and here's the deal. A Democrat can choose not to adopt the policy position of single-payer healthcare, but what's going to happen? They'll probably lose. He said, I'm skeptical if anybody can win on the Democratic side if they don't adopt the position of Medicare for all. So this is Bernie. Here's the best way to put it, and here's how I interpreted the entire article. You could read it for yourself at the Hill, but I interpreted it as Bernie Sanders, we're playing good cop, bad cop here, and Bernie Sanders is the good cop. So even though the Democratic establishment has spit in his eye roughly 9,000 times, Bernie Sanders keeps trying to win them over. There's a carrot and stick approach. He's the carrot. Now, what are we doing, Justice Democrats? We're not fucking around. We're the stick. We're the ones who say, no, it is a litmus test. If you don't support Medicare for all, it's a policy that 60% of the American people support. 77% of the American people support Medicare. This is something that even more Republicans want than don't want. So you have independents, Democrats, and even more Republicans support it than don't support it. And we're going to act like, oh, no, it's okay. This is one where it makes sense to have multiple opinions, but it doesn't. Or do we have people who are supposed to represent us in Washington, or do we pick them so that they can go there and spit in our eye and slap in our face and do the opposite of what we asked for? So we're not fucking around. We say, no, you need to be for Medicare for all. If you're not, get the fuck out of the way. Get out of the way. What the fuck are you doing here? But this is Bernie Sanders. Understand, he was picked by Chuck Schumer to be in Democratic leadership. So Bernie's in Democratic leadership. Bernie's running around the country trying to help the DNC, who, by the way, rigged the primary against him. Now it's been proven in court, even though the judge said, well, even though it's been shown that there's, quote, palpable bias against Bernie Sanders in the process, well, there's nothing that we could do because there was a fraud lawsuit against the DNC. So now it's been proven in court. They admit it. Like, yeah, no, there was palpable bias against him. So Bernie Sanders has decided, I will forgive my enemies. I will fight for the DNC and try to change the system from within and try to get them to adopt my policy positions come hell or high water. And I'm going to do it by heavily insisting and by shaping the direction of the party, by having access to the infrastructure of the party, the DNC and the top leadership in the Senate, so on and so forth. So that's why he says stuff like this. He's like, no, it is not a litmus test, but I would heavily suggest you do it, and I'm skeptical anybody can win if they don't adopt the policy position of Medicare for all. So again, this is Bernie being a kinder, nicer, better person than we would be. Now, furthermore, when you're part of the Democratic leadership, they're not going to accept you undermining any other Democrats. They're not going to do it. Even if it's somebody as bad as Joe Manchin. Take a look at when Cenk Uygur of TYT, who's a co-founder of Justice Democrats along with me and two top Bernie Sanders campaign officials, take a look at when he spoke to Elizabeth Warren. He asked Elizabeth Warren, hey, do you support primaries against Democrats? And what did she say? She, even in cases of people like Joe Manchin, she goes, well, I kind of like the people that we have now in the Senate. So even somebody like Elizabeth Warren, who's the second best that we have in the Senate, obviously first best being Bernie Sanders. But Elizabeth Warren was like, no, I'm friends with Joe Manchin and I will defend him. So Bernie Sanders, he might not be as forthright in saying I will defend Joe Manchin, but he knows since he's part of Democratic leadership, I can't come out there and shit on other Democrats when I'm in Democratic leadership. So instead, what does he do? Walks on eggshells like this. Well, Medicare for all is not a litmus test because 98% of my fucking fellow politician friends don't believe in it. It's not a litmus test, but I would say that you're not in good shape if you don't support it, and I'm skeptical anybody can win if they don't go down that road. So this is Bernie Sanders playing the game from within, trying to change the system from within, it's almost like a Trojan horse effect, where he's like gently massaging, okay, that sounds creepy, in the direction of, hey guys, I'm here, I'm an insider along with you guys in the Democratic Party, but wouldn't it be great if we did X? And I think Bernie Sanders, if he hasn't learned already by this point, it seems to me at some point inevitable, because he's a smart guy, that he's going to go, oh, these guys are not, you can't gently coax them in the right direction. You have to come with a fucking hammer in your hand and a chainsaw and go, bitch, here's how it's going to go down. So, and that's why, again, why we exist, why Justice Democrats exist, why you exist. And by the way, why other third-party options exist. We, in Justice Democrats, have officially united and have allies with third parties. We're working with Democratic Socialists, for example. Why? Because all we care about is the policy. So I don't care what your approach is to get the policy implemented, as long as you're fighting for the right policy. And we concluded they are. So we all came together on the People's Platform, for example. Justice Democrats works with Brand New Congress, National Nurses United, Democratic Socialists, People for Bernie, Our Revolution. The list goes on. And we all have, different approaches on how to affect change and whatnot. But the bottom line is, we're the ones who are saying, no, we're drawing a line. You support this or else. And that's why we're primarying corporate Democrats. And we're saying, you don't have an option. We're going to make it so you can't win. You already can't win if we shine a light on what your voting record really is. So, look, I personally think, and this is after looking at the best possible way to go about it, I personally think the best way to win and get real populist left politicians in there is to run Justice Democrats, which means you run as a Democrat because there's just such a gigantic systemic bias against third parties that it's like swinging a hammer at your kneecap and then trying to run a marathon afterwards. It's just so hard for third-party candidates to win that it's just impractical to try to go down that path. Why would you want to make it harder for yourself to win when you can make it easier by running as a Democrat? But you run as a Democrat, take no corporate money, no PAC money, unapologetically stand for populist left positions, and say, oh, we're going to destroy the shitty corporate Democratic Party from within. So I think that's the best approach. That means, and here's where we differ with Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders, is an independent, but he caucuses with the Democrats, but he's trying to make nice with the party establishment to try to coax them in the right direction policy-wise. Justice Democrats, we're not doing that. We're going, that's nice, step aside, we're going to replace you. We don't need you. We don't need your approval, corporate Democrats, Democratic establishment. You're already despised. That's why you lost 1,000 seats under Obama. That's why Hillary Clinton lost to Donald Trump, a guy with a 60% unfavorability rating. You guys have a horrendous track record. Nobody likes Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. So why the fuck do I want your approval? I want to defeat you. I'm going to get rid of Joe Manchin. We're going to get rid of the corporate Democrats. We're going to get rid of corrupt Joe Crowley. So our approach is take no corporate money, no PAC money, run within the Democratic Party to defeat the corporate Democratic Party and align ourselves with the populist left movements from outside the party and from within the party. We've calculated that's the best chance of success. If you've come to a different conclusion, that's fine. By all means, you go down whatever path you want, as long as you're fighting for Medicare for all, as long as you're fighting for free college, as long as you're fighting for a living wage and to end the wars and to end the drug war and a new deal to get infrastructure spending and a green technology revolution, so on and so forth. So, Bernie, agree to disagree. Yes, in my mind, Medicare for all is a litmus test for Democrats. Because it's not fucking hard, man. It's like a living wage. Hey, can you run as a candidate who doesn't support a living wage? No, go fuck yourself. I don't support a living wage. Oh, really? So somebody should work full time and not make enough money to survive? The fuck is that shit? That's not a reasonable opinion. It's not like, well, hey, wage slavery, for it or against it? No, fuck that. You're either for it or you're an idiot. You're either for it or you're immoral. Where's the goddamn question on something like that? This isn't hard. I can't stand it when people insist things are debatable that are not debatable. That's not fucking debatable. Living wage. Oh yeah, let's have a discussion. What the fuck? Have a discussion about whether or not somebody's going to afford to keep the goddamn lights on, pay the water bill, and feed their kids. Get the fuck out of here with that nonsense. Yes, Medicare for all is a goddamn litmus test, and I want people to stop shying away from the idea as if it's like, that's like a Trump card. No pun intended, because I know Trump, yeah. That it's not like, hey, you have a litmus test. End of debate. No, that's not a fucking end of the debate. What is the litmus test? Remember when Bernie was asked on the campaign trail, hey, do you have a litmus test for Supreme Court justice? He was like, yes. Everybody's like, whoa, because usually that's used as a corporate media talking point to smear people. He has a litmus test. Ooh, a litmus test. Ooh. And they use that as like, litmus tests are by definition bad. But what if they're not? And he's like, yeah, I have a litmus test. They have to be against Citizens United, and they have to want to be for getting money out of politics. So in other words, they can't interpret money equaling free speech because it doesn't. That's bullshit. And guess what? When he made that argument, the American people went, yeah, that's reasonable. Corporate media was like, oh, a litmus test, my goodness. Stop fucking shying away. Why shy away? There's no argument there. Just because people clutch their fucking pearls in corporate media and go, I can't believe it, doesn't mean the American people will. Can you imagine politicians unapologetically saying, yes, I have a litmus test and Medicare for all is in it? The American people will go, well, that sounds like a good idea. Exactly. So sorry, Bernie, but agree to disagree on this one, buddy. Look, his heart's in the right place because he's fighting for single payer more than any elected official, period. He really is. He proposes it all the fucking time. So I got nothing but love for Bernie. But this is him from within the establishment saying, hey guys, let's go in this direction. Bernie, they're never going to come there willingly. You got to drag them kicking and screaming, and that's what we're doing, that's what you're doing, Justice Democrats. That's why we kicked up John Conyers' bill, had 72 co-sponsors. Now, what is it, over 120? Something like that? I mean, it's all because of you, the pressure you put on them. You called your congresspeople. You said, support it or else. You said, we're not playing around here. If you don't support this, you're going to lose your seat. You signed a petition. We showed them the number of people on the petition. They went, oh, fuck. We're going to lose if we don't support this. So you drag them kicking and screaming. You're never going to play nice with Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi and get them to go, oh, yes, I guess I support the right position now. No, because they're beholden to their corporate donors. They're old Democratic insiders. So, Bernie, I know you mean well, but here's the real answer. Is single-payer litmus test? Yes. If Democrats want to win, the answer is yes. If they want to keep losing? Sure, no. So I would be a little stronger in my language, but then again, I'm not sitting in Democratic leadership. If I had my way, we would totally remake Democratic leadership, and it would be all principled Justice Democrats.